Standing by for entry interface. Orion now at an altitude of 470,000 feet, 900 miles from its splashdown target. Guidance officer confirms that Orion has reached entry interface. The moment of truth for Orion for the next 9 minutes, 45 seconds. And as expected, we have reached a loss of telemetry as we enter this brief blackout period. At the time of the blackout, the flight dynamics officer reported that all of Orion's systems looked perfect. This is the point in time where Orion would be experiencing its peak heating of some 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit as it barrels through the Earth's atmosphere, traveling about 20,000 miles an hour, some 84% of the velocity of a spacecraft returning from the moon. We're 4 minutes away from the jettison of the forward bay cover at the very top of the spacecraft that will begin the chute deployment sequence. And we've reacquired signal from Orion, good data being processed. This view from the Icana unpiloted airborne vehicle over the Pacific Ocean, over the splashdown zone. Time to splashdown 7 minutes. Range to splashdown 127 miles. And now this view from Orion, its thrusters maintaining control. Flight dynamics officer reports that we're tracking right down the middle. G-force is building up on Orion, now almost to 3 Gs. A predicted G-force load of some 8 to 8.3 Gs expected. And the global positioning system satellites have a good lock on Orion as it heads toward its splashdown target. We're 2.5 minutes away from forward bay cover jettison, and this view again from the Icana aircraft over the splashdown zone. Orion at 125,000 feet. Healthy thruster system reported by the propulsion officer here in Mission Control. Passing through 80,000 feet. Range to splashdown about 5 miles. Passing through 60,000 feet. Orion has gone subsonic. Standing by for forward bay covered jettison. $35,000 feet. That view of Orion from the Icana. $25,000 feet. Time to splashdown less than 4 minutes. Forward bay cover has been deployed. Drogues have been deployed. Great video from the Icana. $15,000 feet until splashdown. Coming up on main chute deploy. From a waypoint over the Pacific Ocean, there is your new spacecraft, America. Drogues away. Main chute deploy. On mains, everything looking good. Good reefing reported. $4,000 feet. Three good main chutes reported from the USS Anchorage. That's confirmed here in Mission Control. From a high-speed rate of 20,000 miles an hour to a gentle return back to Earth more than 4 hours and 20 minutes after it took off on a Delta IV heavy rocket from the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. $3,200 feet now until splashdown. $2,200 feet now. Winds at the surface just about 12 knots. Wave heights no more than about 4.5 feet or so. Perfect conditions for Orion's homecoming. This view from Orion itself of the chutes, helping it to descend gently towards its splashdown in the Pacific. 1,000 feet. Just a few hundred feet until splashdown. "100 feet. We have splashdown. Splashdown confirmed at 10:29 a.m. Central Time. Orion is back on Earth. America has driven a golden spike as it crosses a bridge into the future. And we now have confirmation that Orion is stable 1, upright. Orion splashdown at a mission elapsed time of 4 hours and 24 minutes. And the crew module uprighting system is now being activated. These are the 5 inflatable airbags at the top of the spacecraft to ensure that Orion remains in an upright position. And you can see it on the water. The flight dynamics officer now has provided a final splashdown target in the Pacific with a latitude of 23.6 degrees north latitude, 116.46 degrees west longitude, a bullseye splashdown for America's newest spacecraft. Splashdown occurring once again at 10:29 a.m. Central Time, 8:29 a.m. Pacific Time, at a point some 270 miles or so west of Baja California, about 630 statute miles southwest of San Diego. This is Mission Control Houston. Here in the flight control room, procedures for post-splashdown activities and the monitoring of data. And there you can see in the mission director's room at Hangar AE at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, smiles, exuberance, celebration. Orion's maiden flight from start to finish was picture perfect. Significant milestones achieved for the Orion program as we move forward towards future steps that will ultimately take us to Mars. But this day belonged to the team all the way around: Lockheed Martin, United Launch Alliance, NASA, all of the contractors involved in the development and testing of Orion for what turned out to be the most perfect flight you could ever imagine in a first flight of a vehicle that was being tested, a brand new vehicle launched on a Delta IV rocket, a splashdown right on target in the Pacific Ocean, a significant milestone for America's space program. That view from the Icana is one of the Zodiac craft moving toward the location where Orion is gently bobbing in the Pacific Ocean, upright in Stable 1, with all 5 of its inflatable airbags having inflated properly to maintain it at a 180-degree orientation upright. It splashed down Stable 1 and stayed in that configuration through the time that its airbag system was deployed. Every single system on this spacecraft functioned by the book from start to finish. To recap, Orion, following its launch, made 2 orbits of the Earth. The first elliptical, the second highly elliptical, boosted towards its point in the sky and into deep space by the upper stage of a Delta IV rocket that launched the vehicle from the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station and Launch Complex 37 at 6:05 a.m. Central Time, 7:05 a.m. Eastern Time. Orion passed through the Van Allen radiation belt twice, all of its systems functioning perfectly, no effects whatsoever on the shielding or the computers or the avionics of the craft, reaching a peak altitude at 9:11 a.m. Central of 3,604.2 statute miles. The crew module separated from the service module right on time at 9:28 a.m. Central Time, and then we moved towards the critical entry phase. Once again, this view, we're looking from one of the helicopters providing sequential still video of Orion in the water, perfectly upright, having splashed down upright, releasing its parachutes. The waves cooperating, the weather cooperating at the splashdown zone. Orion entered the high-speed part of its journey back to Earth with entry interface, reaching the first traces of Earth's atmosphere at 10:19 a.m. Central Time, moving at a speed of about 20,000 miles an hour. Moments later, entered a very brief blackout period, while the plasma effects of its descent into the Earth's atmosphere blocked telemetry from being received here in Mission Control. Once again, you're looking at a variety of vessels and aircraft moving towards Orion in the initial phase of the recovery process that will result in Orion being winched and pulled into the flooded well deck of the USS Anchorage for its trip back to the port of San Diego, Naval Base San Diego. We now received a report that 3 of the 5 crew module uprighting system airbags at the top of the spacecraft did inflate fully. One was partially inflated. A 5th bag was not clearly visible to the initial recovery team members, but irrespective of that, Orion landed in an upright position under its 3 main parachutes in Stable 1, as it is called. If you recall from the old Apollo days, Stable 2 would have meant upside down. It landed Stable 1, it splashed down in Stable 1, and maintained its upright position through the use of its airbag system at the very top of the spacecraft. Here in Mission Control in Houston, the work is not done, as Flight Director Mike Seraphin and his team of flight controllers continue to watch over the initial recovery procedures being executed out in the Pacific Ocean, some 275 miles west of Baja and some 630 miles southwest of San Diego. Seraphin, about an hour or so ago, gave a green light after polling his team of flight controllers for the extended power-up of Orion in the water to provide Lockheed Martin a bonus opportunity to retrieve thermal data from the spacecraft from its high-speed reentry back to Earth, where temperatures around the vehicle rose to about 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So far, the report is that there are no hazardous conditions around the spacecraft, no leaks being detected. Small boats are making their way towards Orion for the initial phase of the recovery. The landing and recovery operations folks on the scene in the Pacific Ocean, verifying with Flight Director Mike Serafin here in Houston at Mission Control that there are no leans against approaching Orion for the initial phase of its recovery.